So I had a rather humbling experience a couple weeks ago at my shawarma place I go to up the street. There's a new shawarma place that opened up. It's right by the Starbucks, and I always get a shawarma salad because I can convince myself it's good for me because it has salad in the name. And I go there frequently enough that they know me, and I show up a lot at my collar, and we chat a lot. And at one point they told me that they're all Muslims. I don't know if some of them are related, some of them are not, but it's a Muslim place. And so as Lent was approaching, I asked them if they celebrated Ramadan, and they said, yes, we do. And I said, so what do you guys, what do you guys do? Because I'm a Christian. I'm thinking, there must be lots of different kinds of ways that one celebrates Ramadan, but of course there's not. There's the one way that you do it, which is, they said, we just, from sun up to sundown, we don't eat anything. And then when the sun goes down, we eat a lot. And then we eat a lot before the sun comes up. And I was like, do all Muslims do that? And they're like, yes, we all do that. And it's true. I mean, I've never spoken to an observant Muslim who doesn't observe Ramadan in that way. And then, of course, they asked me, the priest, what I do for Lent. And I'm thinking, well, I gave up David's tea last year. And I even preached on it. So I felt really humbled in that moment and really felt like I needed to do something for Lent that was a little more serious than giving up tea, although I totally did it, like the whole 40 days. So I started researching what a lot of our Christian ancestors have done, and it was really interesting. The most dramatic were and I believe still are, the Syrian Orthodox Christians who give up meat and dairy and olive oil and wine for Lent, for the entirety of Lent. And I started looking at a lot of different disciplines, and I'm sure you all know, Roman Catholics have certain things that they give up, but there's generally, and Christians vary in what we do. Sometimes it's giving up certain foods, sometimes it's meat, sometimes it's dairy. Some Christians basically eat vegan. But a lot of other Christians, it's about how much we eat. A lot of Christians eat, for example, half the amount they would normally eat for breakfast and half for lunch, and then something sort of normal for dinner. And usually there's something a little more dramatic on Wednesdays and Fridays. But there are basically two things that are in common that every Christian has. The first thing is that every Christian tends to eat less. And the things we do eat is worse. We eat less tasty food. And the second thing that tends to happen is we tend to save money as a result of that. And this does two things. The terrible food brings us closer to God. It brings us closer to God because some of us just need to pray to find solace in our terrible food that we're making for ourselves. It also more profoundly brings us closer to Christ, brings us in closer solidarity with the poor and the billions of people who do not get to eat what they want to eat, and millions upon millions who may not have eaten at all today. But the saving money allows for something quite wonderful, which is that we have a ready-made system for giving money and giving food and giving time to the poor. The math has been done for us. If you, for example, I tried this out this afternoon for lunch. Normally, I was feeling generous towards myself, and a lot of times I go to Loblaws, and I like to get their little ready-made meals that they make. They make salads, they make sushi. I was going to get some sushi. Instead, I didn't. I spent about $5 on a little salad. I had $5 left over, and I was able to use that $5 to buy these 3 cans of chicken. So I'm going to do this is the first time I've ever done this as a priest. We're all going to do this. All right? Because the number one thing that I was jealous about talking to these Muslim guys is the fact that millions and millions of Muslims throughout the world get to do the exact same thing for Ramadan. And there's something wonderful about sharing hardship together. And that's what frustrates me. I think it's the single most frustrating thing about Christian Lent stuff that what we've sort of done as Christians is each one of us picks our own unique Lenten discipline that's special and unique to us, and it's impossible for us to share in this burden together. And we're good at that as a parish, sharing our burdens. So I want us to do that. And so this is the system that we're going to do. I don't care what food you give up for Lent. I don't care how you do it. Some of you might normally go to a drive-through, and now you're going to make a peanut butter sandwich at home. You might get fancy coffee. Now you're going to go with Maxwell House or maybe an instant coffee, possibly. I don't know if I'd recommend that to everyone, but I don't know what you're going to do. But what we're going to do together is when we go to the grocery store or the drive-through or the fancy restaurant, we're going to get less stuff. We're going to get cheaper stuff. Our grocery bill will be smaller, and there will be a difference, like a mathematical difference, between how much we spent last month and how much we're going to spend during Lent. And whatever that numerical difference is, you're still going to spend it. We can't all be saving for Easter feasting. Whatever that amount is, we're going to spend it, and we're going to spend it on very specific foods, or we're going to take the money itself and we're going to give it to the food bank. That's what we're going to do. So, to facilitate this effectively, I've printed cards, and Stephanie is going to be handing them out. The idea of the card is you're going to put them in your wallets. And when you go to get groceries, you'll have a list of all the things that the food bank needs, because it's not craft dinner. It tends to be, you'll see on the list, it's going to be things like protein, canned meat like tuna. It's going to be, if you're going to do pasta, it's going to be dried spaghetti and sauce. I'm not sure what you're going to do, but I want us all to do the same thing together, which is eat worse food, save money, and spend the money on food for people who don't have enough to eat. And we can all complain together about our terrible diets for Lent, and it'll feel better. And if some of us are getting lazy, we'll come to church on Sunday and we'll have dozens and dozens of other people doing the exact same devotional thing for Lent, and it will feel good. And I'll tell you what, this afternoon, it felt fantastic to eat my tiny little couscous salad and buying these cans of chicken for the food bank. It felt good, because Lent can be depressing, right? And it can also turn into a very strange, self-focused kind of discipline. I've chosen to give up this because I need to work on this, or I need to lose weight, or I need to get more in touch. It's always about me, me, me. Not going to do that this year. We're going to have terrible food. And we're all going to have terrible food, so it's not going to be about us. And then we're all going to use the money that we save to give to the poor. Right? Okay. I don't know how you can argue with me on this. This is like airtight. So it's one of those simple sermons that's not very complicated. We just have to do it. And now none of us will be embarrassed when we go to the shawarma place up the street and they'll say, oh, I heard it's Lent because I was talking to your priest. What are you doing for Lent? And you can say, well, I probably shouldn't be here eating this shawarma, but, well, maybe we won't go to the shawarma place. You get the idea. So that's the thing. So does everybody have a card? Okay, it goes in the wallet. You can't miss it. I already used it once today. And we're going to have the receptacles out on Sunday for food, and then when they get full, we'll take them to the Gloucester food cupboard, and we'll generate a lot of food for the poor. And this is a really long winter, and it's really cold. You'll notice there's other things on that list that's not food, like diapers, like household cleaning, personal hygiene stuff, household cleaner stuff. Probably socks are okay, but I think we're mostly doing food and sort of household things. So that's what we're going to do. And we're all doing it together. That's all I'm going to preach on. Amen.